Amigos y amigas, the Mexican Soccer Show, Monday Night Football. Well, I guess we got that back now. Monday Night Football. Well, at least we're not the only ones now. There's Monday Night Football, but there's not Monday Night Football. So there's a big difference there. Welcome, everybody, back to the Mexican Soccer Show. My name is Weasel from FootMex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer. Man, I almost didn't get through with that. I feel like I've been gone for a long time. It's been a few weeks. Took a week off, and then about 2 weeks ago, I had some problems with my air conditioning. And since I'm in the hottest state hottest city in all of the United States, it's gotta have some AC, so I have to get that fixed. So I apologize, and I want to thank Mr. Cesar Hernandez, who is on with us today. He was able to jump in and do a great job hosting. So, Cesar, I'll go to you right away. We'll start with our amazing question. It's all about El Clásico Nacional, and we'll say hello. How'd you feel about the Clásico Nacional last night? Overwhelming? Underwhelming? Any appropriate amount of whelming? What's up, sir? Welcome.
Hello. Doing well here over in San Diego. For me, I mean, I like the first 70, 80 minutes were all right. You know, it was a narrow lead by Chivas right there. I mean, that part, it wasn't exactly boring, but it wasn't really thrilling either. But if you really want to get a sense of the Clásico, just watch the last 10 minutes. The Ibargüen golazo, Coutinho stepping up for the penalty. It's just the last 10 minutes was the overwhelming part. Other than that, I guess most of the match, it wasn't like terrible, but the start to the game wasn't exactly that thrilling.
You know, it's funny because it's like I was looking back at another tweet that I did. I get notifications a while back, and it was like I remember putting El Clásico devaluado, like it was just boring. And then now I'm kind of like, I'm like, oh, I want more. I don't think. I mean, what would be the greatest Clásico? Is like a 4-4.
I mean, not to say the game was terrible, because obviously the ending there really compensated for the first 70, 80 minutes. When you look back and you just look at some of the talking points, yeah, it was a fun game, but it wasn't. I think around the 80th minute, once Ibargüen got that golazo, that's when things just really ramped up.
Really got that. Good. Yeah. Mr. Tom Marshall, question to you: overwhelming, underwhelming for the whole part, or any type of whelming?
Yeah, I just thought it was. If it was anything underwhelming, I don't think there was that much. You know, the quality wasn't that great for me. I thought Chivas were quite defensive in their outlook.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that definitely didn't help the game as a spectacle. But it wasn't a bad game. It was, I don't know. I just thought I don't think there was enough quality on display. I thought Chivas passing, especially moving the ball forward, getting the balls to that front three, were pretty poor, especially in the first half. And America really, given the dominance, given the fact that player for player, America's a better team right now. If you look at the actual big chances that created, like real opportunities, they didn't do it that much. You know, they were getting in good opportunities without creating proper chances. So, yeah, I mean that's what it is. And then obviously, you know, the good thing is that we got a talking point, and the talking point was right at the end, where America have got this opportunity to win the game, to probably just about, for me, edged it. I think they would deserve to win. And then obviously Uribe, who missed the penalty for Colombia in the World Cup, steps up. I'm sure in his mind it was kind of redemption. I'm gonna do this now. And off the back of America going out the cup as well in midweek, and he stepped up. He wasn't even the chosen penalty taker. Takes the ball, and if you're gonna do that, put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, you can't.
It wasn't even a bad penalty. We'll go into the penalty, and we'll kind of discuss that, and won't go into that, but. A lot of people with our question that we have. Well, actually, not a lot of people. What am I talking about? There's only like a few. Not a lot of people wanted to participate in our poll question. Brian, our friend Brian RMW, a boring match. Well, underwhelming, pretty much a boring match. Soccer never sleeps. I was thoroughly entertained for 2 hours. Saw 2 great goals and an exciting finish. I can't complain one bit. Again, like I said, I was looking for probably super defensive Chivas, which they were, kind of countering, and then America was just kind of going in there. I did have them as a tie because I thought it was going to be boring, just because where the two teams are coming from. But I don't know. I thought I did enjoy it. I enjoyed, all of it. And then when Chivas scored, it was kind of like, okay, great. Now it's going to get even better, right? Yeah. And then obviously, the way it went the last 10 minutes. And 90, it's going to be 1-1. As soon as I saw that PK, which it was, definitely PK, then I go, now it's really crazy. Please miss it because I want to win on our Quiniela. So not because I wanted Chivas to win the game, but I was being selfish there. But as far as Clásico Nacional, let's go. I wasn't, because there's been some boring ones. I remember, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, that's why I think the last 10 minutes kind of compensated for the first 70 to 80 minutes. Obviously, if you're looking for drama, I mean, you got that drama.
I don't remember the first half.
there's even I felt like there was a serious lack of yellows. Like the game wasn't as scrappy as I thought it would be. I thought it'd be like a little bit more tense. And then
maybe we're so used to watching Liga MX that you just said it. There was a lack of yellows.
We did, but the fun thing is we finally saw. I think it was like the last 3 to 4 minutes. We saw a bunch of yellows there, right before the penalty. I think we saw 3 or 4 there in the last maybe 2 to 3 minutes there. So I feel like if people want to a good replay of the Clásico, just watch the last 10 minutes. That's all you need.
It's true. 15, right? Well, 95, 14, 15.
And then watch a replay of the assist for Pulido's goal from Van Rankin. But
great.
Other than that, you got a good summer right there of the Clásico.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. Well, that was our question. But we're going to just lead into our Clásico Nacional, which is what we're going to be talking about mostly. We'll dive into a little bit of Mexicans abroad. The women's El Tri players start a big tournaments this week, and then also El Tri's got some games coming up. Maybe we'll touch into that. So I wanted to welcome all of you guys that are on the chat already. Talking to us, please tweet us, retweet us, and we'll try to get some questions answered if I see them there. But as far as let's be a little more on the analysis side. We talked about on the fan and enjoying. Was it fun, overwhelming? But Tom, we'll go to you. You said it was just kind of, I think you're looking at it the footballistic term, right? Where it looked like both of the teams really didn't bring anything as far as but the goals were at least, amazing. And then the performances as Gudiño, which just did an amazing job. But to you, as far as the football and the level of Liga MX, to you is a little bit underwhelming still?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think either team played well. That was the bottom line. I thought Chivas were pretty sloppy in the passing, especially the first half. They played this kind of bit strange formation where it seemed like Pulido was almost like a false winger. And it seemed like, I think that Cardoso wanted to play Brizuela and Pulido kind of like a narrow front three with Godínez, because I think they wanted to get behind the fullback. America, especially Miguel Herrera, always pushes his fullbacks high, and I think the idea was to kind of to either create space behind them or stop them bombing forward, because America, that's how they create a lot of chances. But it didn't really work because they went forward and Chivas couldn't get a grip on the game in midfield. But Chivas had 2 central midfielders, Fernando Beltran and Alan Cervantes, who have started 12 Liga MX games between them. And America in the central midfield had Matias Uribe, who's a Colombian regular, and Guido Rodriguez, who's been called up before for Argentina. So it was like that. Chivas were always going to be up against it in this game. I think that the 2 young players, the young midfielders, did fairly well. But it was difficult to get the ball up to that front three, and I think that's why Chivas didn't create the threat that I think Cardoso would have wanted them to do. As for America, I mean, I think what America are missing right now is Menes. I still think they're missing that link between the midfield and Uribe works really hard. Roger Martinez also works really hard. I don't like those two together. I think they're maybe a little bit similar in a way. And I think that Menes just brings a bit of magic. He brings that final pass. So yeah, I think that's what happened. I thought America were much more comfortable in their 4-4-2 than Chivas were in what really was looked to me like 5-2-3. And so yeah, but fair play to Chivas. I mean, I think Cardoso, when he came into this club at the start of the season, there were so many bad things going on. Alanis left, Pizarro left, Cota left. There was such a tense atmosphere at the club. And then I think they got 1 point from the first 4 games. And then since then, for him to have got this back together, and Chivas are now within 1 game, 1 win of the playoffs, I think is a massive achievement. And there's one thing you can say about Chivas in that Clásico Nacional: they never stopped running. They were working for the manager. They were working for each other. And I don't think you can, you can't kind of criticize them from that point of view. But for me, what was obvious from that game is that America is a better team.
Yeah,
America is the team that's potentially going to win the title. And Chivas, I think it's very, very unlikely that they can do that.
but this is what Chivas does almost. They'll sneak into on there and hopefully have a run. And I think that's what the fans are. Cesar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think America looked better as a unit, though. I think I do agree with Tom. There is something missing there at the top. You someone like Menez who really connects the midfield and the attack. But I think they did well with their possession. It's just those opportunities that they had that final third. I think they just need to capitalize them a little bit better. But I think Chivas, there were individuals that kind of stood out to me. For America, it was more of a cohesive group. But with Chivas, I think what really kept them alive were the individuals. Van Rankin with that one moment of magic for the assist. And you do have to say, when you look at the replay, it was offside, but wasn't called. A goal's a goal. I think Pereira did very well defensively. Godinho, obviously the man of the match there, for not only his save for the penalty late in the game, but just the crucial saves he made before that. So I think when I look back at the game, I do think that, like Tom said, there is someone missing there in the attack for America, and it's clear who that is. But I do think they kind of worked a little bit better as a unit. But yeah, those individuals from Chivas, the Van Rankins, the Pereiras, the Godinhos, I think those are the ones who really, once again, just were able to secure that draw for Chivas. Because I think Chivas did have their dangerous moments, but I'm sure if there was some sort of expected shots for the game, I'm sure America would have probably had a better, I guess you could say, XG right there. I don't know who was actually keeping track of XG in Liga MX. But I will say that, like, yeah, Chivas had their opportunities, but I do think that overall, I think America were the slightly better side. But I think that's a fair result with the 1-1.
Cesar and Tom, to you guys, what was the better goal as far as teamwork wise? You have Chivas doing Van Rankin, going over 2 players, and then giving it to Pulido to kind of. And I actually applaud Pulido what he did, and that's. But on the other side, Peralta not giving up. Looking at it is, and then obviously a golazo.
Oh, actually, the funny thing is, even though I just said that America worked better as a unit and that you had individuals from Chivas stepping up, I mean, Barwen's goal, that was just a moment of magic from an individual player there. I think Van Rankin, that was just obviously a moment of magic from him too, but it was that connection right there with Pulido. I will say, just because of that run and that assist, I think of the Van Rankin's goal was a little, Van Rankin's goal, his assist for Pulido's goal was a little bit more impressive than the individual effort there from Ibarwen.
Wasn't Peralta almost kind of using that the workhorse in the corner, right? Almost saving it in and then passing it over is where that came from. It's the reason I was asking at that. And I thought it was just, it looked like it was, both especially were great goals.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Peralta does that most people don't see.
Mm-hmm.
He's always working, and he basically created that goal. But again, you bring someone like Ibargüen off the bench, and for me, again, it shows that America is a stronger unit. I mean, America had Edson Alvarez out, Diego Lain is out, and Menez is obviously a long-term injury. But Chivas, Orbelin Pineda, Chofis Lopez. So both teams have players out, but I just feel America is just so much stronger right now. I mean, Chivas, through their own fault. I mean, it's the club's fault. They've sold the best players, and I think we kind of saw that on the field, although obviously not in the final result. But yeah, I mean, I think when you can bring those kind of players off the bench when you're behind, then it obviously helps. But yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, Godinho, it was a bit like what Cesar said. I think, forget the penalty. I mean, a goalkeeper can make a big save in a, even a bad goalkeeper can make a good save from a penalty. I think what I was really impressed about Godinho with is that he comes over from Europe. He's not played many first division games in his whole career. He's 22, and for me, there's question marks like, why has he come back? You know what I mean? Why has he come back to Mexico? What's the point? Once you've made that move over there, then establish yourself. Make a mark. And then when he comes back, it's kind of like, okay, if the coaches over there, they've not seen something, they don't like something. Is it his attitude? Is it his technique? What is it? Is it his his personality? And then when I saw him yesterday in the Azteca, it's like technically he looks like a really good goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. A real goalkeeper, but also in terms of his temperament. If you can play in front of 69,000 in a Clásico Nacional as a 22-year-old goalkeeper, that's impressive. You know, forget the penalty save. The fact that he goes out there, he comes out for the crosses. You know, that's the thing that I think. Yeah, you've shown big personality there, and you've kept your team in the game. So yeah, I was really impressed with Godinho, Jair Pereira as well, up there for man of the match. But Pereira, you know what you're going to get with. It's Godinho for me was the question mark, and he came up absolutely massive. So yeah, you know, Club America got some tough games coming up. I've not got them off on the top of my head here, but Chivas now, Pumas next weekend. America go away to Tigres. Chivas actually have got a fairly easy running for the last 6 games of the season. So I don't know. I mean, the playoffs are still potentially on, and I think from an emotional point of view, that save from Godinho, I just think it's massive for Chivas. I mean, obviously it's 1 point in the bag, but it's also you've not got beaten in the Azteca. And so yeah, we'll see what kind of effect that has on Chivas.
You got Tigres, then Tijuana, then Cruz Azul, Toluca, Santos for America, which you're right, you're going in there. This I kind of almost, I don't know why, but it felt like almost Talavera-esque as a way when I saw Godinho playing.
Yeah, I guess just to continue talking about Godinho, I'm glad that we're all getting excited about him, but I still think that, man, I think we need to calm down a little bit with Godinho. I feel like I've seen a lot of talk online, just like, oh, Godinho 12-3, let's do this. Let's give him a call up. But I feel like a lot of that excitement says plenty about how desperate we are to see more young Mexican goalkeepers stand out. And I'm not just saying like, oh, just like saying Liga MX, but just on a national team level. And I think it says a lot about how we really want to look past Corona and Talavera. Obviously, Ochoa is fine for a bit, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of talk of people getting really excited about Godinho, be like, yeah, call up 12-3. It's like I don't know. I feel like we should still be a little.
I think that's where people. I think this is where people go. Okay, let's start looking for those young keepers, right? And then I still think those 3, the Talaveras and Chuy's, are still going to keep going for a few years because that's what happens with goalkeepers on 12-3. It's unless they're really desperate and those 3 are gone for some reason, then you start looking at the who's up there.
But you know, both Guadalajara teams now. I think let's not forget, you know, Pepe Hernandez over there at Atlas. I mean, he's been playing week in, week out, right? He's been leaking goals, but he's a very different kind of goalkeeper to Godinho as well. He's decent with his feet. He's kind of the more what I'd call the more kind of Mexican style that you'd associate with Mexican goalkeepers. Whereas I'd say Godinho he's almost a bit more. I don't know. I know this is completely stereotypical, so don't go crazy on me, but he's more of that European style. He comes out for crosses. He's big. He's physical frame. Cardoso said that he thought Uribe was actually put off the penalty or intimidated a bit by Godinho. I mean, I don't know if that's true.
Dun, dun, dun.
But it's good to have that option. It's good to have the option of a different kind of goalkeeper.
I'm not too worried about the goalkeeper situation. I don't know. I feel like it was Mexico's always had. I'm worried about the manager who's going to pick the goalkeepers, and then that's where I'm at. I think we've always had great talent. Going back to that penalty kick, that was a bad penalty kick regardless. I don't know if it was, in the drama behind that, Piojo afterwards saying, I mean, this is why you love to hate Piojo and the fact that he says that about his team. He wasn't the one that's supposed to take the penalty kick. Like, what does that tell you about your manager? I don't know if that's good or bad, but at the same time, you mentioned it, Tom, if you're going to take a penalty kick and you're not the designated, it's like, no, I know you're designated. I'm going to take it for my own personal reason. Make sure, and I got this. And then it's not even like I know Godinho saved it, but it wasn't a great PK.
Yeah, I think those situations are it's almost kind of 50-50. If he would have made it, if it would just been slightly more to the left or slightly more to the right, I mean, it'd be interesting, the kind of drastic conversation, the change of conversation that we'd be having right now.
But it's the fact that he took it when he was not supposed to.
Yeah. And for me says, what does it say about the authority of your manager?
Mm-hmm.
Your manager's been training this before, and if they're not following his instructions for a penalty, then are they doing that when it comes to making it, other decisions in the game?
And why would he say that to everybody? Like, if that's me going, crap, this is going to blow up on me that I don't have it, and I'm going to say that, like, that's where the more of like what's going on within America and the players and coaches, because not only did Piojo say that, but let everybody know that it was happening. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the manager needs to have that authority, and he says someone is a penalty taker, and they take the penalty, and they don't change it at the last minute. I mean, it's not been a good week for Herrera. I mean, he bumped his car into the kind of the sidewalk. And
That is awesome, man.
Everyone's got.
I hope everyone's already seen it, but if you haven't, please look it up because it's just incredible.
But he also kind of, one of the American youngsters, I think it was Vargas, no, who missed the penalty in the penalty shootout against FC Juarez on Tuesday, and America went out of the cup, and Herrera said, "Oh, I shouldn't have given it to the young kids. They missed it," and I don't know. You're calling out the young players, and you kind of naming them and saying, instead of backing them and saying, I had full belief in them, I knew they could do it. It's not worked out this time. Next, I don't know. It's just not been a good week for him, and I think anybody still thinking that Miguel Herrera is for the national team, I don't know. I mean, these are the little things that kind of should point you to another direction.
Well, the good news is that no one's really bringing him up.
Amy,
when you hear the rumors, you hear the Martinos, you hear the Peckers, but you don't really hear. And I'm saying this is a good thing. You don't really hear much about Piojo. Was he on that list of 24? Probably, but I'm glad that it seems like all signs are pointing to him not actually being a legitimate candidate.
Yeah, he needs to. There's some people, especially America fans, I think, that are now kind of saying, is Herrera the right manager? Should we get rid of him at the end of the season? And I think Herrera's even said that if they don't win the league, then he could leave. I mean, they could get rid of him. I don't buy into that, but what I do think is in the big games, and especially Liguilla games, I think he's been outcoached a couple of times. Cesar with Xolos. I mean, when they were really on fire heading into the playoffs, then all of a sudden they come unstuck. And I think Herrera, more than anything, he needs to show a little bit more in those kind of games. Because at the end of the day, if you look back to the World Cup in 2014, he was also outcoached in that game against the Netherlands as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like those 2 seasons when he was at the top of the league table with Tijuana, I always think things kind of fell apart once the playoffs started. I've always been, specifically, I always kind of question his tactical changes late into the game. I always kind of question his substitutions that he makes. But yeah, I think that it wouldn't be surprising if they were to qualify for the playoffs and then not end up winning a title. Because once again, I think there's still question marks with Piojo. Like you said, Tom, just when it comes to those big matches, would it be that much of a surprise if the America didn't end up fighting for the title this season?
Yeah, I mean, the other one just quickly was the CONCACAF Champions League, wasn't it? Where he started blaming the police, the Toronto police, and all this, and it's just like, stop making your excuses. Just take it on the chin, and I don't know.
On the chat, we got some questions, especially for Jaime Osorio saying, "Does anyone else feel weird seeing Chivas play defensive counterattacking soccer?" Really not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was probably the smart thing to do from Cardoso.
Yeah, no choice.
because, like I said, I think if you look at the midfield matchup, I think Chivas were going to struggle there. And I think Cardoso knew before the game. It's not like he hasn't played three at the back kind of in recent games, because he has. But Chivas are a possession-based team. I think they're number 2 in the league in terms of amount of possession. So for them to kind of, it wasn't an overly defensive display, but it was very much safety. I would call it safety first. I'd call it safety first. They were making sure that you have the back sewn up before they went forward, and yeah, I mean the other talking point for me is Pulido again. I mean, I know he scored the goal, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't get what he is at the minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that goal was 80% Van Ranking, 20% Pulido.
And he celebrated like it was 80% Pulido, 20% Van Ranking.
Yeah, I mean, and Chivas absolutely need him. They're going to need him. I think he scored 6 goals since Chivas won the title in May 2017. So, it's not enough. It's not enough. I don't even know what he is these days, though. You know what I mean? It seems like
he's trying to do.
I'm not sure if it's him or if it's the managers like Almeida and Cardoso, but he used to be a number 9. In Tigres he was a number 9. He scored goals. He looked like he was going to be a real goal scorer, and now all of a sudden the goal scoring ratio's dropped off. He drops off as well. He comes back. On against America, he was out wide as well for times, and I don't know. I don't know where he's playing, but I mean, for me, he needs to stay up front. Chivas need him to be the number 9. He needs to lead the attacking line, and and pick up some form, pick up a couple of goals, and get some confidence. Because I don't know, I feel like Chivas got rid of a lot of the highly paid players, obviously over the last couple of off seasons, and Pulido's still there. You know, I think Pulido, Brizuela, of the really high paid players, probably Pereira as well, but. He needs to. I mean, he'll be getting big money, and he needs to start kind of living up to that. You know.
Another question on the, well, more of a comment from friend Joel. America are starting to miss Peláez. It's more of a comment, and that's which is funny on the success that he's having. Let's switch over. I mean, Clásico Nacional was still going. Chivas getting into the place. I think that's what everyone was looking for. I think it'd be good for them. But other news, what would you guys say after the Clásico? Big news around the Liga MX.
I mean, obviously you have to look at León getting that 4-0 win over Veracruz. I mean, if you're just looking at some of the bigger results of the week, and you have to bring that up. But of course, it is against what is it? A Veracruz side, which is the worst defensive side in the entire league. Over in Guadalajara, you have to talk about Atlas too, getting that 2-0 win over Toluca. I think Tom,
that was.
Tom, I think even like in our predictions, you've been putting like Atlas for like 10 straight weeks, and it finally paid off. So well done right there, Tom.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just knew it. You know,
you're still in last place, which is surprising.
10th time's the charm for Tom right there.
That's Saturday night. We got the Clásico Nacional, dude. Man. That was good. Pumas 2-2, Puebla, Necaxa, Santos continuing a good run. Monterrey 3 over Tijuana. Lobos, Buap, all of a sudden finding a little bit of success in Liga MX, playing Monarcas. They beat León last week. Now into the stretch of how many teams are going to make it in the top 8 is what we're going to be looking for. And that there, Cruz Azul losing to Pachuca. And looking over, I was trying to figure out red cards because I'm trying to look at it. I think it was only one so far, right, that we saw low cards. And for the first week, I'm sorry to say, but we didn't hear any like big ref stories. I mean, Clásico Nacional it wasn't like it was taking over this week with how bad the refs are in some of the weeks that we've had that. So at least we're going in there.
Still an offside goal.
But no. But I guess it wasn't I guess news taking over it, and we're looking at that.
I think that was a big win for Pachuca. I think we need to point that out. Yeah. I think Pachuca very, very quietly. Really, nobody's really been talking about Pachuca too much, but I guess Terán has been. I don't know. He's a very, very good coach in terms of working on the training ground and drilling his players, and he's such a well-organized team. And really, that's quite similar to Cruz Azul in the way that they play, and the Caixinha is very very much into the details. And yeah, obviously, when Madueña went off after 22 minutes, I think it was always going to be a struggle for Cruz Azul. But fair play for Pachuca for coming, for getting the victory, and Ouya from the Argentine from Leicester, he's looking like he's going to be the striker. He's looking like the striker. Victor Guzman as well. He's fully back now from his injury. 3 assists for Pachuca at the weekend. I mean, he's looking like somebody now, Guzman, who's on that kind of, he's on the Eric Gutierrez, on the Hector Herrera, kind of that same conveyor belt at Pachuca. It's going to be very interesting with him though, because I think I was chatting to Pachuca's sporting president maybe a few weeks, maybe a month ago,
over dinner,
and we were talking about the Gutierrez deal, and really they didn't want to sell Gutierrez. It was basically because Gutierrez had been there for so long, because they felt like a personal kind of obligation that if the kid wanted to go, then they were going to let him go, and then it coincided with kind of PSV raising their offer. But I mean, I think there's a feeling within Pachuca right now that they're sick of selling the best player. I mean, for like the last 3-4 years, almost every season they've sold the best player. Going back to, I'm not saying Jürgen Damm was the best, but Jürgen Damm, Enner Valencia, Hector Herrera, then moving on to Irving Lozano. I can't remember who else, but there's a lot of players that have just gone. You know, obviously Gutierrez has just gone. He was the club captain. So it's going to be interesting with Guzman. I think he's not long been back from injury. We've got to let's see how he goes. Let's see how Christmas time. Let's see what kind of season he's had. But I don't think there's any way he's going within a year. Put it that way.
Really quickly on Pachuca, I say shout out to them too because they were in 18th place. Like week 4 or 5? So they've really turned things around thanks to someone like Guzman. Thanks to someone like Ulloa who's really stepped up recently, and it's pretty impressive, especially when you consider. I mean, like Tom said, they're getting rid of their best players. They got rid of their captain Eric Gutierrez, and they're still able to find this momentum and rhythm. So shout out to them for being able to bounce back. Obviously, when Cruz Azul gets a red, when you have someone a key like Madueña as a right back missing from the game so early on, that makes a huge impact. But I don't know, Pachuca put on a clinic in that first half of that game, and I know, and obviously Cruz Azul are still fine. They're in first place, but no, I think I've been quite impressed with Pachuca in recent weeks. When you look at a lot of the Liga MX teams, I've been very, very impressed with them the last, I would say, like 5 to 6 weeks.
Well, you look at, in fact, when I was kind of going over the standings and I saw Pachuca in 8th place, I was like, what? And just kind of what Tom said. It goes back to what Tom says. They're slowly going in their past performance. You take out the first 5 games out and whatever happened there, because it was kind of, we were all kind of worried. It was seeing what it was, but now they're changing and seeing the place of Pachuca being in there and being a contender to take Chivas spot.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for the Mexican national team for Pachuca to do well, and I say that because Pachuca are developing these players. They're giving these young Mexican players chances, and there's always that pressure to get the balance between doing that and being successful.
Mm-hmm.
And if Pachuca are consistently not successful but giving Mexican players chances, then the formula it fails. And I think there's pressure on them then to go out and spend money, bring in different players, bring in established players. So it's good to see them kind of with the uptick. Santos Laguna are basically at the minute they're doing it. What Santos are doing is pretty amazing, to be honest. I mean, I know it's not a club that people are talking about week in, week out, but up there in 3rd position, again, the reigning champion.
Yeah,
nobody expected him to win it last time. They're going away to Necaxa. They're getting a 1-0 win. I mean, they're doing it. I mean, they're not making a big song and dance about it. But they're getting the job done. And obviously Julio Furch was a really intelligent signing from Veracruz. But you look at the younger Mexican player that they've got as well, and you think something really, really good's going on there. And I think if Pachuca can be in that mix as well, Chivas potentially. You got Querétaro as well. Querétaro got some. We watch Querétaro in the cup game sometimes, and they've got some really interesting young players as well. And the other one's Atlas. I mean, Atlas obviously the similar model, but suffering. So yeah, but it's good to see those kind of teams as well making some kind of impact. Anyway.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Go ahead, Cesar.
I'll say really quickly, credit to Atlas for giving more minutes to young Mexicans than any other Liga MX team.
Well,
and obviously, I mean, they're struggling. I mean, they're really. I mean, obviously, they got that win. That's really good to see them get that win. But more than a Pachuca, more than any other side, a Santos, any other side out there, Atlas is really the side that's giving a significant amount of minutes to young Mexican players out there. So it's funny how they're kind of like the laughing stock of Liga MX, but at the same time, I feel like Mexican soccer fans should also be same like a Pachuca. They should also be thanking Atlas for giving those opportunities to young Mexican players.
You mentioned something, Tom, that kind of got me thinking. It's good for the Mexican national team if Pachuca does well. I think it was something that was said about Chivas in I think since I can remember. If Chivas is doing well, it's good for the national team. How great that we have someone like Pachuca developing those players in the university in Pachuca.
So which teams, when they have success, are we like, should Mexican fans be bothered about? Xolos, Tigres,
León. As my León, it's like if León's winning all the time. And there was that, when they actually did, you did have actually some Mexicans there but But it's funny. Yeah, I can go there, Cholos. Yeah, you're right, Tigres. All right, guys. Really quick, we'll go into our next segment, but I wanted to give some Tom, just ask him some questions, man. Someone from the Mexican Soccer Show was so close to one of the legendary players in the history of all football, La Cebollita, Dieguito. You got the chance to go and see him.
Picolín. Oh wait, never mind.
No, not Picolín. Tom, your experience going over there in the madness, Dorados, has now two amazing players that has associated with the team with Guardiola and Diego Maradona. I mean,
Cuauhtémoc.
I mean, something's happening over there. But you got a chance to go there, witness the madness that is Diego Maradona. What can you tell us really quick about it and just kind of your thoughts?
No, I mean, honestly, it's calmed down now. I mean, when he first signed, there was like 100 journalists there, and he was just absolute mayhem.
And if I was in Mexico, I would. You just have to go. I mean, when would you get the opportunity? You know, if anybody in Mexico, of course, I would be over there.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I tell you what, though, it's weird in Sinaloa, in Culiacan, because I went to the Tomateros, the baseball team. I interviewed the president over there, and and everyone you speak to, it's like they're all baseball fans. Sinaloa. This is what I took from it. I mean, obviously, people know about Sinaloa. They know about El Chapo. They know, they've got certain connotations with Sinaloa. But you go there, and it's actually an absolutely fascinating place. I mean, the amount of football players that have come from that state is unbelievable. I mean, going back to Omar Bravo, Massa Rodriguez. I mean, Eric Gutierrez, Hector Moreno, Jared Boguete. I mean, they're producing player after player that state. So to go there and then see it's mainly baseball, and the heat is absolutely unbelievable. But it's fascinating. And then they've got obviously they've got the narco side of it as well. So it's a difficult place to get to grips with. But yeah, it was entertaining. I really enjoyed it out there. Maradona.
Hector Moreno is also from.
Yeah, Moreno's from
Carlos Fierro. Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. Paulo Aguilar. There's a ton.
No, I mean, not just football. I mean, boxers from Sinaloa, ridiculous amount. Baseball players. Pedro Infante was from Sinaloa. I mean, a lot of kind of, well, not a lot, but quite a lot of kind of icons of Mexican culture and sport and music. Banda music's from there, and everywhere you go, especially in Western Mexico, is banda. It's banda everywhere. Even in Guadalajara, and that's Sinaloa. So anyway, I mean, Diego, he's there as well. So what can you say? But I don't know. Honestly, I think you watch him train, and I think for me there was like two emotions. When you first see him, he's clearly overweight. He's got kind of arthritis in both his knees.
He's got weird walking. I saw a video,
he can't walk. I was
like, wow.
And it's basically, I think it's mainly his knees, because he took so many injections in his playing career just to play. So say his knees would be hurting him, but they're just giving him injection, and then he'd go and play. And he just didn't care. He just accepted it, and this is the result. I mean, he's got really bad arthritis. He had a kind of some procedures done in Colombia in June, but obviously he's very overweight as well. I mean, the Liga MX website puts it at I don't know, I think it's 180 pounds or 85 kilos. But that's
no way. He's weighed 200 or more.
Yeah.
That's optimistic. That's optimistic. So I mean, there's that kind of, and then when you hear him speak, he's slurring a lot. It's very difficult to understand. So it's kind of like there's a bit of sadness, because he's absolutely, for the player that he was, and I don't know, just for everything that he represented, for the game. I mean, for me, he's one of my favorite people in the game ever. I mean, not just for, I don't know, he was just such a, he's just a story. He's just somebody who's come from the absolute bottom, the absolute kind of ghetto, basically, of Buenos Aires, and he's still got that attitude with him even today. And you go to a press conference and he'll say something unbelievable about how, he doesn't feel any pressure, because pressure is kind of, a father or parents who can't put food on the table for the kids.
Jesus.
They go to work and 4 a.m. and they come back and they don't have enough money. Really poignant things like that. But then on the other side, he'll say, if anybody says that my player deserves to be sent off, I'll spit in the face. And it's like, what? Like, why are you saying that? Like, just say you don't think it was a red card. You know what I mean? But you just start fighting absolute, fighting PB. Basically, he's a PB. He's the typical.
That's what people love about
Argentine
it.
PB.
I feel like him.
It's a spirit though that people really that resonates with people, and I think that's what makes him such a character too. And obviously, his footballing abilities speak for themselves, and 100% spoke for themselves. But I think it's that character which really makes him a larger than life kind of person.
I'm just a little worried that like Piojo and Diego are going to meet one day.
Oh dear.
Like that's what worries me.
Brilliant.
Just see it and not only that. No, if you haven't read the great article by Tom on on what he's doing over there, and just when I heard the news, I was just kind of like, what? But then I was like, no, I guess I'm not that surprised, and just seeing how long I've just kind of seen what afterwards and how Diego leaves or whatever, and how they end, and then what Diego is going to be saying afterwards, and that just kind of goes because it'll probably be on a bad note or however, and then Diego will just be fine. But
we'll see. Everybody up there right now is talking a good game, including Maradona, including the president, his assistant. Everybody's saying this isn't to sell shirts. We're not doing this because we want him in there because he wants an opportunity to manage. Dorados is gonna be given a chance. His assistant Luis Islas is a World Cup winner as well from '86. He was the Argentine goalkeeper in '94. Yeah. So he's coached at Leon before. He played for Leon. He played for Toluca. He knows his Mexican football, and I think he's a key figure in kind of guiding all this. But let's not forget. I mean, they've started well because they've won 2 of the first 3 games in the league, and before that they hadn't won a single game. So I don't know. I mean, from what I was saying, then the sad side, seeing him and his physical condition, no doubt about it. But the positive side is that for someone like him, I mean, he's such a jewel of the game. You want to see him working in the game, and I get the feeling that when he's on the pitch, when he's with the players watching it, he kind of like he's happy there. You know what I mean? He's in a good place. He's not in that dark place that's led him to do some pretty self-destructive things in his past. So I don't know. Honestly, hopefully it works out. Yeah. I think it'll just be great. It'd be great if he can at least stay a year and get some positive things happening. And I don't know, because he's always a story.
Moves up, get to the Liga MX.
Imagine that.
He still has a lot of work to do.
I mean, let's do it.
I mean, the sector you see like an Atlante or Juarez, those teams are definitely dominant. I think. So are they not in the top 8 just yet? I think they're out of the top 8, Dorados, right?
I mean, when basically now they're in the playoff race, so they're still, I think they're 3 points off the playoffs, but they're still in that race. But before he came, it was like that was it basically. I mean, but it's interesting. There's so many interesting little kind of anecdotes. I mean, he's been eating food from this like Argentine restaurant that do the asado. And bringing and the guys at the restaurant were just like, oh my God, we're cooking for Maradona. Like, can you believe it? Yeah. He basically turned up in Culiacan with 2 suitcases, and I don't know. He never changes out of his Dorados clothes. He's not been seen there yet without his Dorados cap on. I mean, he just seems to be absolutely loving it. But it's Maradona, so
there's a video too of him going to like a concert too, and like they invited. Have you seen it?
Yeah, that's false though.
Oh, that's false. What?
Yeah.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Wait, how is that false?
Fake news and Anders.
Nah, that was so that wasn't him.
It was him, but it was from a while ago. And I'll tell you how you can tell. This is what the Dorados president said. He said they're wearing jackets. Everyone in the video is wearing jackets. In Culiacan, you never wear a jacket. Nobody ever. Okay. Even in the people over there are like, oh, we only have one season, summer. So summer.
Well, I'm sorry to lie to everyone. I was really hyped up about that. I think some legitimate people retweeted me after I posted that. So I'm sorry to all those people who like saw that.
Oh, you tweeted it, says that?
No. I like copied the link, and then I was just like, and I said, it looks like Maradona is having a great time in Mexico. And then like
dun dun dun.
But I mean, that's one of the things with Maradona. I mean, nobody knows the reality and the myth and where that ends and when it, because there's a story as well that he was going to move into this house, but all the neighbors kind of didn't want him there. And so the moving vehicle, the truck with the things in, was stopped at the gate and they wouldn't let him in. But apparently that was absolutely just not true either. So I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have any things anyway, so I don't know how he could move things in there.
Well, we'll keep up at that story. We'll see where it goes on that. Well, thanks for giving us a little update there. I think it's awesome, and going in there, and especially, I mean, to be so close and to see that the type of person. All right, let's jump right in. We have Mexicans abroad that are playing this week at Champions. Eric Gutierrez, which we've seen, and also, yeah, you got to have that. And then also, Mr. Chucky Lozano. Guys, do you really think you could see them getting into the next level of the Champions?
Ooh, no. The PSV guys, I don't think so.
No.
And I mean, if there is going to be a chance, a lot of that is probably going to ride on a game like this one, this Wednesday, that PSV have against Inter Milan. Obviously, it's going to be easier than the match against Barcelona away, but this is still a very tough Inter Milan side. I mean, you look at some of those players in the squad, like Icardi, Nainggolan. I mean, it is going to be easier for Chucky to stand out in this game in comparison to the one against Barcelona. But I mean, it's going to be very, very tough, and especially against Inter Milan side that defeated Spurs 2-1. I know those 2 goals arrived pretty late for them, but I mean, you can't overlook this side. But at the same time, I mean, Chucky should be motivated to make an impact, and I really do hope he steps up. I really do hope he takes advantage of his opportunities in the final third, because he did look a little. I don't know. I'm not going to say he was lacking confidence against Barcelona, but something was a little off. So I do hope that he really steps up against Inter Milan, because once again, you can't take any of these Champions League games for granted.
This is where I see, Chucky and see what he is, especially against these types of teams where it's Italian defense, and that's where I want to see where Chucky can really look to see what we can do against those types of defenders. So I'm excited. And then obviously Eric Gutierrez, what he did over the weekend and how well he started already. This is a stage that we want our players to be in. So definitely very excited. On the other side, also Porto, which the Porto guys have not had that great, I would say, at least appearances. But it's still good that they're getting that exposure. Tom, to you, what at least you're looking for with those types of players?
Well, Herrera, I don't think there's any questions. We know what he is. We know, I don't know. We know Herrera. But for me, it's again Corona. I mean, I know we mentioned it before, but
this is it.
We need to see.
Eh? Yeah, this is it. Like, when are we? We're done. Like, at what point do we go? Okay, Corona is just not.
Like, yeah, I don't know what is kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on so that the manager is kind of not picking him. But I mean, I think we're getting to the stage now where it's like, he needs to leave, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's not the club for him. I mean, it was a bit like Raul Jimenez, who's kind of got this like kind of new wind in his career. And he's 27 years old, isn't he, Raul Jimenez? Now he's not like a young player. But he's had to leave that environment to go somewhere new and a fresh challenge. So, I think we're getting to the point with Tecatito now. Before it was kind of like, can he make that jump up to a big team? And now it's more kind of, can he move to somewhere where he's going to be playing all the time? Can get back his confidence?
At the very least, the good news is, if you believe the rumors, that Herrera is being followed by those big sides. Obviously,
when is it going to happen?
I mean, if you believe the rumors, apparently Spurs, Barcelona, Inter Milan are still, obviously, once again, take it with a grain of salt. Those are the rumors, but apparently they're keeping an eye on him. And
it's like strong sources too. Like, there's like the rumors, and then there's people that were really linking him.
If there are a lot of teams that are keeping an eye on him and that do want him, and if he's going to be in a free next summer, then maybe one of those teams who are a little bit more desperate to bring him in to kind of would be willing to buy him over the winter. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but maybe there's a chance of that potentially happening.
I feel like
it's kind of like the other opposition who might want to get him next summer.
Mid-table anywhere. I don't know. I don't see like Herrera, Barcelona, Inter Milan, and all that. Just go play in a really good team with a good league and again good competition. Get out of the Portuguese league like that. That's where I would want to see Herrera.
With Herrera, yeah. I mean, the other thing about the rumors with Herrera is they are rational because his contract's up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, between now and January, in January he can talk to other clubs. So, if you're Herrera, you're not going to sign a new contract unless Porto offer you a lot of money. And right now all you're going to be is like, I love Porto, like he's been doing. I love Porto, they're amazing. 200 games I played for him, the captain, blah blah blah. Because he's basically saying, right, I'm important to you. You're important to me. Make me a big offer. But then on the other side, you obviously other clubs are looking at Herrera and be making a few noises through back channels and stuff to show their interest. And someone like Herrera, there's no reason why a bigger club wouldn't want a player like that. If you get him on a 3-year contract, he'll be 29 next summer, something like that. You get him until he's 32. Herrera's naturally a fit kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's not going to be, he's not, he still runs. He's still got the legs in him. And I think he could do a great job for even a top team, to be honest. If he goes to someone like Barcelona or Real Madrid, I don't think he's guaranteed that start, obviously. But I mean, I'd still love to see him step up because I honestly think he's got it in him.
Or even something like an Arsenal. Like it doesn't have to be Real Madrid. I think an Arsenal would be fantastic. I think that'd be really, really exciting to see him at that level. Maybe not even the mid-table team, but I guess it all depends on where Arsenal is at right now.
I like to see more in La Liga, like a Villarreal, a Valencia type of team.
No, I want to see him in the EPL. I would love to see him in the EPL.
Because I don't know. Sorry, I just started bursting out laughing because I was talking about Herrera, and then I saw that picture with him in the car, and he's all nice. He's so good. Yeah, I feel like that's like his card. I mean, that's his card he's giving everybody out. All right, guys, I'm ready to go. I got the look. I have the cars. I'm ready. I just need the team.
If I did all that work, I would 100% be like, yeah, GQ, let's do this thing. Yeah, like,
oh my gosh, man. And then the quote, Buenos dias, pinches feos. Like, I was laughing so hard whoever quoted that. I could not, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, but man, I could not stop laughing at that. And he's proud of it. He even makes fun of himself too, right? Like, because he knows how it is. So, all right, I know we've gotten a little off track, guys. Big tournament for the Mexican ladies. That's coming up. This is the pre-World Cup tournament that they have here in CONCACAF. United States and Mexico face off in a very, 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 very tough match. We always know. We're definitely following it, and hopefully we can see maybe one of us, I won't say whom, that will try to make it to one of the games, and really hoping to see that and give you a little more of the coverage. But here it is. We've been talking about it all year. We've seen what the ladies did, in the games over the summer. We've also I just kind of been looking at that, and as far as women's soccer and how it's growing in Mexico with the league in its second year, and now comes a tournament where we're seeing the top three, which it looks like Mexico should be, but I think it'd be a major, major, major failure if they don't make it to the World Cup. And I think that's what we're looking to see. But what do you guys are expecting to see? All the players that are coming through. I mean, this is a stacked, if we could say, a Mexico team with the players abroad, with Liga MX players, with some that are playing in the United States, with the talent that's coming in. And now, there isn't anyone that I can say when I'm talking to experts that has been left off. But what are you guys expecting? And could this team finally give, what a lot of fans are looking for is, at least on a competitive edge in a world stage?
I think what you expect is obviously a spot in the World Cup. I mean, that group stage, I think, obviously go against the U.S. That's going to be tough. But Trinidad and Tobago also going to be tricky, but I think they should be able to beat Trinidad and Tobago and Panama. And as long as they make it out of the group stage, they have a decent chance of qualifying because the top three go directly.
And there's half a ticket.
So the fourth place team gets half the ticket. But obviously, it's a huge tournament. I mean, it's like I was telling Tom, it's like a Gold Cup, but I actually care about it because actually there's a spot in the World Cup up for grabs. So yeah, it's gonna be, like I said, once again tough against that opener against the U.S. But I think it would be a fracaso if they didn't make it to the World Cup. So it's gonna be a very, very, very important month, a hugely important month for not only the national team, but also for Liga MX Femenil, which are well represented in this team.
Yeah, it's a tough group. I mean, they've not been given any. It's tricky. Within Mexico's group, you've got 4 of the top 5 in terms of the rankings. There's only Canada who aren't in there. So sorry, no, messed that up. No, sorry, what is it? 3 of the top 6.
Yeah, okay. Also, because Canada is ranked higher than Mexico, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, 3 of the top 7, sorry.
What's going on? What's going on
here? No, so you've got Mexico basically playing the States of obviously number 1 in the world. Is obvious that's going to be extremely difficult. But then playing, the fifth best team in CONCACAF as well, and which is Trinidad, and then the seventh, which is Panama. So I don't know. I don't think Mexico can take anything for granted at all. It's a bit of a shame that they got drawn in that group because they're playing in North Carolina, and they could have been playing in Edinburgh, which is down by the border, which I think would have been massive. But yeah, I think basically it looks like if everything goes to plan, it's going to be Mexico against Costa Rica for a place in the World Cup. I mean, basically,
Costa Rica has had a good generation of ladies that are coming through and are proud and playing in good leagues too. So
I don't think very, very, very recently they've been doing quite as well, but they're still, they made an impact. I think at the last World Cup, didn't they? Was it the last World Cup or the Olympics? But yeah, I mean, that's not going to be an easy game. But for me, I think this tournament is a massive. It's a massive moment for women's football in Mexico. I think it has been getting a lot more attention. I mean, just the fact the league goes now means people are talking about this week in, week out. I mean, you open a sports newspaper or a website and you get Liga MX femenil things, information, results, games are on TV. I mean, it has been a mini boom over the last year, 18 months in terms of the women's game. And I think that that momentum, you need to keep it going. You need to make it snowball. And I think you do that by your national team doing well. And I think, I don't even care too much how Mexico play in this tournament. They just have to get to the World Cup. I mean, it's absolutely so vital to the women's game in Mexico that they get to the World Cup. And like you said at the start, for me, I think it's such a fascinating balance that Mexico has right now, and when you look at it over the longer term, Mexico could be an absolute. I don't know. I mean, I know it's very early days, but Mexico could be a big team in women football. I mean, they've got the thing is it's in the women's game or the men's game. I think it's good to have a variety of talent coming through different sources. And I think in the Mexican game right now, you've got a good amount of women playing over there in Europe, getting this different kind of experience. You've got a lot of the younger girls who are playing in the Liga MX and training every day. And you forget the games, they're training every day. So it's not like before where they have huge camps. They're properly training and preparing for games. From the tactical side of view, the physical point of view, I mean, it's so different than what they were doing before. And then you've got the US, so you've got the colleges, where Mexican American girls, but also Mexican girls can go there as well, and you've got the NWSL as well, where a good few of the team are playing. So
Katie Johnson,
I mean, and so you've got a good mix of players coming from different places, and if the manager Medina can kind of harness that and get it together, then you've got to be tentatively optimistic, but. That game against the United States is obviously going to be extremely difficult. You're coming up with the best national team in the world. You're coming not just the best national team, but the best prepared national team. And arguably the best supported national team. So it's going to be extremely tricky, that first game. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I really, really hope they do well because I don't know. I said it before, but if I could pick one thing to happen in the Mexican game, it would be that the women win a World Cup because. I don't know if the Mexican women's national team can do something.
We got to qualify for the World Cup first, Tom. Come on.
Yeah, but just in general, if you to say one wish for Mexican game, mine would be that the women's team win the World Cup, and why? Because it wouldn't just be kind of you win a World Cup, you celebrate, see you later. I think it'd have profound implications for the whole of society. You know what I mean? And I think that. I don't know. I think that's why it's. I don't want to put too much pressure on the team, but that's why.
I'm just make sure we're gonna take this tape and just say, women, you have to win the World Cup. No,
I think some follow you, Tom. Some follow me.
Dude, no, we're videotaping this and we're putting it as one of our clips. We're setting it out there. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they have. Just the preparedness. I follow. It's funny because I follow a lot of the players and just. Now we're looking at that, and it's just a great insight now that we obviously Instagram and all that, and their training and all that they're doing. So if you are listening to us, any of the women that are going to be on there, thank you for doing that, and we wish you all the best. It would be this is where the pressure comes in. I mean, we saw what happened with the women, the under team, and how it didn't get out of the group, and it wasn't there when everyone was talking about it. But now we're seeing, it looks like more of a revitalization of the Mexican women's team and the players. So it's gonna be good. As far as the schedule, and I don't have it in front of me, of when, Cesar, I think you're mentioning of when we actually play.
So October 4th against the U.S., October 7th, Trinidad and Tobago, and then October 10th against Panama. And then if they make it to the next round, then the semis are on October
14th.
Yeah, and then the final and third place playoff are on the 17th.
All right.
Yeah, that could be the day. I mean, if everything goes to plan, Mexico are going to be in that third, fourth place playoff, which becomes the one game to qualify. I mean, the system for qualifying, to be fair, isn't fair. I mean, it's it really, honestly, with so much at stake, there's certain things that go on in the women's game aren't, they shouldn't happen. I mean, this is right in the middle of the season as well. Now that this tournament's happening, and the girls, especially over in Europe, they're playing Champions League and stuff. I mean, it's very difficult for them to come back to the other side of the Atlantic and kind of play this tournament. And then you play that third, fourth game, and there's an early red card, there's an injury. I don't know. I don't think it's the best way for qualifying. I'm not sure how you do it, to be honest, but the stakes are absolutely massive. And it's like you said, Cesar, it's the Gold Cup and World Cup qualifying all in one, and that's why it's unmissable. It's definitely, people should be tuning into this. Yeah,
I think it's going to be that game against the U.S. is going to be on Univision out here, if I remember correctly. So I assume if they're showing that one, they're probably going to show the other games on Univision Deportes out here in the U.S. So something to keep an eye on. Glad it's going to be accessible too, because sometimes
they're not. We're watching it through streams.
Yeah, something can be a little tough to find though. So
little quick plug, FoodMax Nation. We're doing some cool stuff with women's team. Definitely keep your eye out, especially if you are a fan, or if you haven't. Definitely, there's going to be a lot of some coverage and some stuff that we're doing with some of the players also at FoodMax Nations. So you'll see some of those great players for Mexico and the ladies team. So keep an eye on that, guys. It's already overtime. Overtime. I meant over our time, not necessarily anyways, yeah, past the 90th minute. Sorry, let me rephrase that.
We're going straight to count.
Really quick, for a very first in the Mexican Soccer Show, and I have to make sure Tom versus Cesar faced off in our very first live Twitch. And what happened, guys? Like, you guys all of a sudden decided to play.
Well, speaking of overtime, we might have to go to overtime because I won the first game. Tom won the second one, so it was a draw. Although, I guess each of us scored 2 goals. Yeah, no. So even if we went to an aggregate score,
you guys got tied.
Yeah. I guess overall it's tied. That means we have to have a third. We have to have a third match at some point, Tom.
It'll have to be done. I'll see.
So in the first match was Cruz Azul versus
Pachuca.
Cesar won. And then the other one was the English national team for the women's side versus the Mexican national team of the women's, right?
Yeah. Also, I had like 50 shots against Tom, and he had like 3, and he somehow ended up winning 1-0 or 2-0.
That's what happens, dude. That's what happens.
I don't know what happened there, Tom. I just
wait.
The thing is with the shots, you gotta put them in the net.
All right.
I really thought he was gonna be like, you gotta.
Oh, wait, does that mean that Tom had 3 goals overall? So does that mean
he got the aggregate? Yeah, because
no, never mind. We're not using aggregate.
Let's go and play. Let's see if we can play a game now.
Tom and I were. I mean, Cesar and I, because Tom was eating and he was rushing over. And Cesar and I started thinking about it. It'd be kind of cool to do some kind of tournament with all of you viewers and all the fans of Liga MX English. I think it'd be kind of cool. So I don't know. We'll think of something. Maybe we'll do like a teams where Liga MX teams are all represented, and we'll do maybe a tournament in December. In November, all you guys kind of like, maybe if all the America fans, you all play maybe little tournaments, and you have a representative, and the Chivas fans have a representative, and it's me, Cari, and the other Leon fan that have a representative. But it'd be kind of cool to have like some kind of turn. I don't know. We'll think of it, but I think it was a lot of fun watching these guys and the commentary. Maybe I'll jump in and do some kind of commentary, or have Amy and I would just really try to make it professional. We're like, Amy, you're down in the field. How are you looking at Tom right now after he's down 3-0?
That would be incredible.
And then Amy goes, you know what? I'm looking at Tom right now, and he took off. I think it's kind of fun. Fine. You know, we'll do our own production, and all of a sudden, 10 years from now, we just do video games, and that's it. Fun, guys. All right.
We do the Mexican soccer show. Mexican e-soccer show.
E-soccer show. Is that so? That's the name of our team. We have like a pro club. No, actually, I already have a pro club team. I have to.
Can we start a pro club team? All right,
I'm already part of a pro club team.
I am horrible at FIFA. I'm really bad, and I just gave up. And everyone comes up to me. I'm like, Weasel, you know all about this, and you should be playing. Why don't you play? And I'm just like, I know. I get on there, and I just don't want to be ridiculed. And you just got to keep going. And anyway, so I'm gonna step back and let these guys be in there. So if you have ideas on how we can do maybe a giant tournament, maybe we can do it. You know, let us know, and we'll start working. But our brain started kind of turning, seeing and ideas on how we can all play. We'll let you know when these guys play again. I know there's some players I want to jump in there, and we'll continue to do that, guys. Thanks so much for joining, Cesar and Tom. We have a lot of football coming up. We didn't even get to the national team, and I'm sure we'll get to it on the next time, where, you know, Costa Rica and Chile, where we got some news for the national team. Tata Martino's thrown in the mix. No more Tuca. So lots and lots of coverage here. Thank you so much. You could choose a lot of different ways to spend the time, especially with podcasts, and you chose us, so we really, really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe on all the on our iTunes, and get that to in your pod center there for your iPhone or Android devices. And then, of course, thank you for sharing the Mexican Soccer Show here on Twitter, guys. Nos vemos el lunes. Thank you to all on the chat, and have a good week, guys. Hasta la próxima.
See you guys around. Adios.